before we go to paint, the first thing you're going to have is you're going to have all your spheres that are done, and you'll have your background one done too. You've already got your X's in, and the next thing, if you hadn't started already, is you will make sure that you do the 1-inch lines on the back. So the 1-inch lines are where we're going to cut the paper for our Agamographs. But for this video, I'm just going to show you how to do the painting. So the first thing before we paint is we're going to use our markers, and you can use the ruler or you could just do nice straight. And even if it's not perfect, like you can tell I'm talking and I don't make a beautiful line, you want to go over your marker lines or pencil lines, except do not do your X's, because if you do the X's, you're going to see that through your painting. So that's the first thing that you're going to do. Okay, so once you have your everything filled out of the lines on your paper, and you leave those X's blank, you have your markers back in your container, and the next thing you're going to do is you're going to have at your table one of our trays, our paint trays. You're going to have a cup filled halfway with water. You're going to get your flat brush, which is, for in our room, it's a red paintbrush, but the flat brush is, it's not round tipped. And then a little piece of paper, paper towel, whatever you have, in order to dry off. So when we go to paint, remember we wipe on the inside of our cups, because if we wipe on the outside, it drips everywhere, and it'll get your painting wet and other people's paintings wet. So you have your brush, and you're going to go in and you're just going to go back and forth a couple times, and you're going to pick up some of that paint. The trick with painting is the less water on your brush, the darker the paint is going to be. The more water on your brush, the lighter it is. So we want to leave areas of white in order to show reflection, and we're going to work on shading with the paint too. But our first step is to color in with the black any of our areas with the X's. Okay, so we got our black started. And all I'm doing is, for me, it's easier to outline first and then fill in, especially those tinier areas. And I do have tinier brushes for that. But see, this is a little bit lighter. I'm going to go in without getting more water, do a couple strokes and grab some paint, and now as I go over it, it's darker. So you want to go and do all of your X's and try to make those squares or shapes that you have nice and dark. One thing I wanted to point out is your paintbrush. You could do, what's nice about this brush, and the reason we do hair up, is you might notice on my brush here, it's hard to see, but you can see how some of those little paint, the hairs are kind of coming off, and are poking out. That makes it hard, because when you brush, you might end up with some little squiggly lines on the outside. So when I say brush hair up when we put it away, it's so we don't end up having all the hairs like that. I can fix that by giving it a little hair shampoo and conditioner to make it softer. But when you're using this paintbrush, there's two ways to use it. You can paint it flat like this. You could also turn it on its side and draw a thin line. And you can also do kind of like straight on top and do even thinner lines. Or you could do the corner of your paintbrush and do a corner, very tiny dots even. So the nice part about this flat brush is you could do a variety of lines when you're doing that. All right, after you fill in all of your X's, then you're going to do the neat shading part, and that's where this comes in. So if you ever feel you have too much water on your brush, you can always wipe it off on here, okay? And using just the water, I can pull my paint or whatever I have left on my brush, and I can make my cool shadows. So you see how that is. And remember, the more water, the lighter the paint is going to be. And all you need to do is just do a few lines, and it just gives it that really neat shadow look and gives it that three-dimensional feel. So it doesn't have to be perfect lines, it could just be a little bit. And I'll zoom in here so you can see what I'm talking about. Just that gray helps it. Okay?